Could we please see what you can do? When the translator said this, Yuri began to laugh loudly. Ha 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 ha. He laughed so hard that tears came to his eyes. You should be grateful. I'm even considering this. You're lucky I'm not asking for something much worse. Two of the top Japanese hunters with President Matsumoto were very upset by this, and jumped up. Everyone please calm down. President Matsumoto shouted quickly, but they were already too angry to listen. Suddenly an invisible wall appeared and trapped the Japanese hunters. They couldn't move. They looked like two small mice trapped in a jar as they looked at each other with surprise. Yuri laughed quietly. Try to come out if you can. You won't be able to take a single step without my say-so while you're in there. Yuri Orlov was very good at making these kinds of barriers. The people from Japan were very surprised by this show of strength. Yuri smiled in a mean way and said his offer again. I will block the most important gate for $10 billion each day, and as a gift, I will let these two people go. Do we have an agreement? His shiny gold tooth sparkled in the room's lights. He was strong enough to stop two of the best hunters without even moving. We probably need to trust him for now. Matsumoto slowly nodded. Can I make a quick phone call? Yes, of course. The next day Yuri Orlov's name was in newspapers all over the world. Jinwoo checked his status screen when he got home. Stats. His eyes moved down past his level, job and titles, and stopped at his list of skills. Skills. Passive skill unknown level max. Willpower level 1. Dagger master level max. Active skill flash level max. Murderous intent level 2. Mutilation level max. Dagger barrage level max. Stealth level 2. Ruler's hand level max. Many of the skills shown had gotten better, or were about to reach their highest levels. Skills could reach a top level of 3. When a skill hit level 3, it would show as max. But even after reaching max, continuing to improve the skill would eventually upgrade it to its best form. The improved version was much more powerful than the original. For example, the skill dash became flash, fatal strike became mutilation, and dagger throw became dagger barrage. Jinwoo's dagger skills had improved. He used to be good at handling a dagger, but now he was a true master. He created a powerful dagger and practiced spinning it on his finger. It slid easily into his hand, and he held it perfectly. It looked like a cool trick. He tossed the dagger up in the air, and quickly caught it with a flick of his wrist. He wished someone was there to watch him. Because of his new skill, the dagger felt like a part of his own hand. Jinwoo glanced at the skill list as he kept throwing and catching the dagger. It seemed like he could really work on murderous intent and stealth. Sadly, his willpower stayed at level 1, and didn't seem like it would get any better. Skill willpower LV. 1. This skill always works and doesn't need any energy. It means you have a lot of determination. When your energy gets very low, below 30%, a special ability called willpower turns on. This makes you take half as much damage. Willpower only activated when Jinwoo was almost out of energy. But he didn't want to risk his life just to make the skill stronger. He had already faced many dangerous fights after getting willpower, but the skill stayed at level 1. This meant it would be hard to improve. Another problem was that Jinwoo had become very powerful. Could he find a strong enough opponent? So Jinwoo decided not to improve his willpower right now. He chose to get better at murderous intent and stealth, which were both at level 2, because he hadn't had much chance to practice them. Murderous intent wasn't a skill he could use often, but he could use stealth every day. Jinwoo looked closely at the top of the skill list. What was this? He was looking at a skill marked as unknown in the passive skills section. He had received this item when he first became a player, but he still didn't know what it did. He thought he would understand it better as he gained more experience. But maybe there was something else he needed to do first. Jinwoo was excited about it because it was the highest possible level when he got it. Even as time passed, he remained very curious about it. After looking at the unknown skill for a while, Jinwoo shook his head and continued to check what he really wanted to see. Below the normal skills were skills only available to his job, and they had improved 1 level today. Job skills: active skill, shadow extraction level 2, shadow storage level 2, monarch's domain level 2, shadow exchange level 2. He wondered how much they had changed. Jinwoo checked them all except shadow exchange, which he had already looked at. Skill: shadow extraction level 2, job skill. This skill does not use mana. It takes energy from a body that is no longer alive and turns it into a shadow soldier. The chance of failing to collect shadows gets higher if the creature was strong or if a lot of time has passed since it died. Collecting shadows actively has a 590 out of 1/1300 chance of success. A level 2 improvement makes it easier to strengthen the shadows. The number of shadows that can be collected has greatly increased with the level increase. Now, 1/1300 shadows can be summoned, if there are enough shadows nearby. Jinwoo could more than double the size of his army. Also, a special boost increased the chance for a shadow soldier to level up quickly after a mission. Just like I suspected, it wasn't luck that a very strong monster appeared at level 13. Maybe the boost happened when I summoned Baru. He would have been even stronger than he already was. People often want more and more. Jinwoo smiled as he checked his storage and special ability. Everyone was getting much stronger and they had received improvements. That was great. Jinwoo closed the screen showing his abilities, feeling pleased. He was growing as a hunter a little slower now, but he was still getting better, and that made him excited. He wanted to become even more powerful. He didn't know how far he could go, but he felt good every time he improved. His heart beat faster and faster. He sent his dagger back to his storage, and placed his hand on his chest. He liked the sound of his heartbeat. But why had Hunter Min said? This was scary. Jinwoo remembered what Hunter had told him a few hours before. Hunter Min had told him to be cautious because he had a scary ability. Was he talking about the system? Jinwoo was also afraid at first when these strange things started happening, and the system created them, but he quickly got used to the system and began to think of it as something that could help him. It was worrying that so many questions still didn't have answers. He looked up at the empty space. What are you? No one answered. Shouldn't you respond to me? Jinwoo waited, but still received no reply. He checked his inventory. He pulled out a bright black key, item key to the Karsten, on temple. How hard it would be to get this item would be shown later. Time remaining 2049 hours, 25 minutes, and 7 seconds. This was a message from the system, like an invitation. A week passed quickly and there were less than 50 hours left. What would he discover here? Jinwoo felt both excited and curious. His heart beat faster, but the hunter lowered his hand from his chest. He decided to prepare carefully until the time came. He picked up the phone and dialed a number quickly. Hello, Gino. Gino answered happily. Jinwoo got right to the point. Gino? Yes, sir. Can you schedule all the difficult dungeons in this area starting tomorrow? Do you mean like when we cleared those medium-level dungeons, sir? Yes, exactly. Gino thought about it for a moment, then replied excitedly. I will, sir. Yuri Orlov, a very powerful hunter from Russia, was greeted by a large crowd at the airport when he arrived in Japan. He smiled slightly, because it reminded him of a large group of ants moving together. People from the Hunters Association of Japan walked toward him with their heads down. They seemed embarrassed that they needed help from someone outside of Japan to stop something bad from happening in their country. Just a few weeks before, Japan had pointed out the same weakness in Korea, but now Japan was in the same situation. None of the leaders of the group, including President Matsumoto, could look up, because they remembered how they had acted before. If they hadn't lost those hunters on Jeja Island, President Matsumoto squeezed his lips together. Yuri Orlov. It's Yuri? Reporters from around the world began taking pictures as soon as they saw the Russian man. Click, click, click. Yuri smiled, showing a gold tooth. His entry papers were handled very quickly, and the first thing the Japanese government asked him to do was to calm down the people of Japan. Yuri happily agreed. People called him savior because he stopped so many dangerous creatures from escaping from dungeons. He liked the nickname because it meant he earned money and became famous. Are you ready, Mr. Orlov? Yes, I am. That same evening, they quickly took him to a television station. Everyone in Japan watched his interview closely. The host asked Yuri, how will you stop them from entering? I will do it like always. Yuri answered, seeming calm and relaxed. He used both hands to draw a large circle in the air. I'm gonna draw a large magical circle around the gate like this. The screen showed the Shinjuku gate, then a picture of a magical circle appeared on top of it. Once I put my energy into the circle, that will stop whatever is coming through. Whatever is inside will not be able to get out. But that did not make the people of Japan feel better. The host tilted his head. I'm sorry, but are you certain that can happen? Yuri raised his eyebrows. What do you mean? The host tried not to upset Yuri, as he explained his question more fully. It's a little surprising that just one top-level hunter can stop the strongest gate. Yuri smiled. The announcer was glad the hunter who seemed quick to anger was laughing, but still worried he might have upset the Russian hunter. But Yuri's smile stayed on his face. It would be impossible if I was using only my own energy to keep it going. Impossible. The person asking questions had trouble speaking, because the strongest hunters from Japan had already stopped trying. If Yuri gave up too, it would mean Japan would fail. Yuri noticed the interviewer become tense before continuing the conversation. But my special skill is that my fortune-telling circles get their power by taking magic from the area around them. Oh, the show host looked surprised and relieved. So when you said you only use your own magic to start, it's like turning on a car engine. Once the fortune-telling circle is working, it uses the magic in the air to keep going, and it becomes very strong and safe like a big solid castle wall. The host and the people working on the show looked excited as Yuri explained how it all worked. The Russian man spoke with confidence, making everyone feel calmer. He explained that if he was right, his protective shield would become stronger as more magic energy gathered around it. A huge amount of magic energy was coming from the special gate, and because Yuri's shield surrounded it, the danger would be caught by its own power. It felt like being hit by its own weapon. This protective shield would be the most powerful ever seen. Yuri pointed at the camera, and at everyone watching as he said, "I will save you. Just remember who is rescuing you from danger." A sound signaled the TV turned off. President Go of the Hunters Association of Korea set down the remote control, looking unhappy. Jinchul was sitting next to him. "What do you think?" "I don't know." President Go was worried. As he sat back on the couch, he would never laugh at someone else's troubles, unlike a man from Japan. But he also didn't want to help his neighbor if it could cause problems for his own country. "I'm not sure if Yuri or Love can stop them." President Go looked carefully at the situation. "But I know what will happen if he doesn't succeed. I'm happy about that actually." President Go looked at Jinchul. The strong hunter understood how his words might sound and quickly waved his hand. "I didn't mean I was happy this happened to Japan." After a moment he continued. "I'm glad we have a hunter. We can depend on." President Go nodded strongly. Everyone knew who Jinchul meant, and just knowing the hunter was helping felt good. "Oh yes. How is he doing?" Jinchul gave his boss a paper listing important areas where magical gates had recently opened in Seoul, and the nearby areas. "Why are you showing me this now? Do you see all the red circles? It looks like about half of these areas are especially dangerous." Jinchul wiped his forehead with his hand. "The Ajin Guild wants permission to use all the gates." President Go was very surprised. "All of them?" Jinchul replied. "Yes sir." Jinchul was a very strong hunter, ranked A and the leader of the surveillance team. Only President Go was more powerful than him and the association. Jinwoo's powerful helpers surprised even experienced hunters, so finishing the work quickly might not be difficult for him and his many soldiers. But why was he trying to finish so fast? President Go wondered, frowning slightly. If it had been anyone else, he would have tried to stop them, even if he had to go himself. It's hard to believe Hunter Sung could get hurt inside a difficult dungeon. Jinchul said he felt sorry for those magical creatures. Didn't he? President Go nodded and smiled. If everything is okay, give Hunter Sung what he asked for. The Hunters Association was happy. Someone was helping with dangerous magical creatures, as long as he would be safe. I think there might be a difficulty, said Jinchul. Are you concerned about which groups control the areas where the creatures appear? That's correct, sir. There are 3 main groups working in Soul White Tiger, the Hunters and the Reapers. Everyone had a specific area they watched over, including the places where monsters appeared. But if the Ajin Guild started taking over their land, they would not be happy and would likely fight back. Problems were sure to happen. The 2 men both realized this was true. The president smiled. I thought President Go supported Hunter Sung, Jinchul asked with curiosity. What makes you so happy, sir? Well, if you think about it, Jinwoo's new guild only has 3 members, and only one of them is a fighter. They are as strong as the big groups and they don't worry about whose land is whose. I think that's funny. Yes, Jinchul said. I agree. Did the Ajin Guild tell you what they were planning? They asked if they could be in charge of the special gates near Seoul for 1 week. 1 week Jinwoo had helped the leaders of the guilds on Jeju Island, so the big groups shouldn't mind letting them handle it for a week. The strange thing is Jinwoo might not realize it, But his plans were very rushed for most people. It wasn't about money. If that's what Jinwoo wanted, there were easier ways to get it. He could have earned a huge amount of money if he had worked for the United States or China. Even in Korea, Jinwoo could have joined a powerful hunter group. But why didn't he? President Go looked at Jinchul. What do you think Hunter Sung wants by doing so many raids? Jinchul thought for a moment before answering. I have a thought. President Go hadn't really expected a reply, so he listened to his assistant. What is it? Hunter Sung seemed very happy while fighting magic beasts. He did. Yes, sir. Jinchul remembered the fight with the big orcs. Hunter Sung looked like he was enjoying himself then. He seemed really pleased when he defeated the strongest magic beast. He enjoys beating powerful magic beasts. Something Jinwoo said earlier came to President Go's mind. I want to hunt magic beasts. And that's exactly what he was doing. What an interesting young man. And what a good person he is. Just then, the phone on President Go's desk rang. Sir, it was President Go's secretary. What is it? There's a call from the Hunter Command Center in the United States. The United States. And the Hunter Command Center too. President Go looked worried. Why was the Hunter Command Center calling the president of the Hunters Association? The United States is a very powerful country, so why would they need help from Korea? Connect the call, he said. A few seconds later, a voice came through the phone. This is Adam White from the Hunter Command Center. This is President Gun Hee-go, of the Hunters Association of Korea. President Go replied. Being able to speak English was important for any business leader. President Go spoke English very well, even better than Japanese, which he hadn't used much since he was young. What does the Hunter Command Center want with us? Adam asked directly. The Hunter Command Center is planning a big event next month, and will invite the best hunters from around the world. Okay? And we want to invite Hunter Sung to represent Korea. Before starting serious explorations of dangerous areas, Jinwoo looked for another group that could help sell the valuable items they found. They could handle the selling themselves if they only explored a few times a week, but they needed help to keep up with their busy schedule. Jinyo, the new second in command, thought it would be better to work with another group instead of using someone in the middle. The problem was deciding which group to choose. He thought about the White Tiger Guild, who they had worked with before, or Heian's Hunters Guild, but he finally decided to work with the Knights Guild. He had worked with them before, and since the Knights were in Busan, their work wouldn't interfere with agents. Jinwoo called them early in the evening. Jongsu, the leader of the Knights Guild, was relaxing on the couch and watching a funny show on TV. His phone buzzed. He picked it up from the couch without really thinking about it. Who was calling? It was Jinwoo Sung, a hunter. Jongsu's eyes got big when he saw the name on the screen. He quickly sat up and answered the phone. Yes. This is Jinwoo Sung from the Ajin Guild. Oh yes. This is Jongsu Park of the Knights Guild. Do you have time to talk right now? Of course. Jongsu smiled more and more as he listened to what Jinwoo was suggesting. Jongsu had been upset that his plan to become better friends with Jinwoo hadn't worked out because of the new rules. His plan to use the Knights Guild skills with Hunter Sung's talents hadn't worked out. The vice president, Yoontae, was also disappointed with how things had gone, so this new offer was a good surprise. Yes, of course. That won't be a problem. Jongsu kept smiling as he spoke. Please let us handle it. The Knights Guild was very experienced, so managing items found in dungeons would be easy for them. After all, that is what the other team was for. Jongsu smiled brightly. I will see you tomorrow. The lunch his mom made for him tasted good, even though he was eating it in a strange place full of magical creatures. Jinhyo looked around while he ate. Eating lunch like this made Jinwoo think about when they explored those lower-level dungeons. This reminds me of when we were doing all those Grammar dungeons. Jinwoo chuckled. You might want to finish chewing before you speak. Oh, sorry, Jinwoo. But Jinwoo knew why. Jinyo felt this way. There was a time when they had taken every available job and spent the whole day quickly moving from one dungeon to another. The only change since before was that the gates were now ranked B or higher instead of C. And if Jinwoo was being very careful about details. Egris noticed him looking around and gave a polite bow. We have someone keeping watch while we eat. Jinwoo didn't really need anyone to protect him though. Because Jinwoo was very aware of his surroundings, he could sense creatures in the dungeon, even when he wasn't looking. This meant he could fight them easily, even with his eyes closed, but he didn't want anything to bother his meal, and he wanted Jinho to feel safe, so he had guards watch during mealtimes. Jinwoo glanced to the side. Iron looked back at his master, and thumped his chest, showing he was ready, and could handle things. Clang! Clang! The sound of metal hitting metal rang through the cave. Jinwoo shook his head. That person is just too serious. Jinwoo looked toward the noise and asked a question. Later. Yes? Can your helpers move by themselves? Right? Yes? Something like that. Hunter Min had said something about the shadow soldiers having their own thoughts. I'm not sure how much of that is true. Jinwoo continued speaking.